So Nearby Nisha, now you've worked on the channel for about 2-3 years now?
Start of 2019.
And the channel itself is about 3 or 4 years old. And in that time we've made a good couple hundred videos. And during the time the channel has been a thing, I've been asked the same question a lot. And that question is, where do you get your ideas from? The answer to that is right in here, in here, in here, in here, and like everywhere. So I figured just make a video just explaining the creative process behind making a fact-fiend article and the subsequent creation of the video, because we get asked about it a lot, so we might as well, like, this is the definitive answer for those people.
The behind the scenes.
And Nisha, do you happen to know how many videos we have on the channel in total?
Nope.
A ballpark guess. There'll be a fact bar below the exact number. I want to say it's...
I'm going to guess 500.
So I want to say it's around like 500-600. Well, the number of articles on the Fact-Fiend website is 1,239 as of this morning.
That's a lot.
On October 14th, 2021. So we still have at least another 600 to 700 ideas that we could potentially turn into videos. And in that vein, I have a notes app on my phone, which has about 30 to 40 ideas in it. I have 2 notebooks here, which are full of ideas. I have a bookmarked page on my Google Drive that has about 300 to 400 ideas in it. And they are incomplete article ideas when I wrote for sites like Listverse, Top Tens, and Cracked. So those ideas themselves could include like up to 10 entire factoids that could be potentially turned into Fact-Fiend articles. I have another bookmarked bookmark, which is the old one, which got too full because my computer would slow down every time I brought it up because it was 150 pages long, and all it consists of is a potential article headline, a link to the story where I got it from.
So a lot of ideas then.
So many that we will never ever manage to cover them all on this website before it inevitably shits the bed or I just get bored. So that brings us to the next thing of, we don't take suggestions on the channel.
You don't need to, you have that many.
But whenever I say that, I always ask, but why not? It's like, that's why. And I've done this for 10 years now, and I want to say the last time I looked it up, I'd written about 2,000 to 3,000 articles online that have my byline on them. Yeah. And then all the ones I did when I was ghostwriting, including fact, like, it's a lot. This isn't me trying to brag, I'm just trying to establish why we don't take suggestions, because there's already 300 to 400 ideas at least that, you know, we could potentially turn into ideas that have already been written, and then like another 1,000 that I've not even written yet. And
then you're going to continue to get ideas all the time because you just have the
notes app on my phone, I'm constantly updating more. I've got notebooks all around my house that I will fill up with ideas that I never open or use, because that's the thing. And that can bring it back to like the Fact-Fiend creative process of, when I start to write an article, do I know what I do?
What do you do?
I sit down, I open my laptop, and I go, what do I want to write about today? And that's it.
Because that's something I've never really asked you about. Yeah. I was thinking, where does the ideas come from? How does he like start the process? So it's an insight to me as well. So
that's what this video is going to be. I sit down and think, what do I want to write about today? And I think for about 20 to 30 minutes, usually with a cup of tea, about just a topic that I thought about recently. Maybe it's a film that I watched and think, that was an interesting film. I'd like to talk about that film. Is there a fact about the making of that film? Is there a fact about one of the actors in that film? And I'll generally start on Wikipedia. And this isn't to say all of my ideas are just from Wikipedia. It's that Wikipedia is very well written and it's very easy to follow and parse. For example, with a film, they'll normally have a section on the production. And if I spot something in there about the production of the film, that seems interesting, I'll follow those links and I'll research that on my own. And I'll follow that rabbit hole and if I find something interesting. While I'm reading a source about something, maybe I'll find something else. And that'll, you know, it's neurons firing, and then maybe I'll get an idea, or maybe I won't. And that's something as well I do, even on days when I'm not writing. And if I find an idea that's interesting, I'll add it to one of these lists. And if after half an hour I can't think of a new idea to do, then I'll go to the ideas I've already done. And this is why Fact-Fiend is so inefficient, because I have hundreds of ideas ready to go that are already researched with a title ready, and I don't use them. I want to think about it on the day because I prefer the spontaneity. I think the spontaneity is better for me. When I wrote for Today I Found Out, for example, I did all their research for them, or I did for a couple of years, so I got all the article ideas ahead of time. I researched like 50 a month for them, and I'd write 3 times a week, so I was basically writing 25 a month, researching 50. And they had a list of about 1,000 article ideas you could pick from, the majority of which was suggested by me by the end of my tenure there. And I just picked one at random. It was that. I like that spontaneity. I get to pick what I do today, what do I want to think about? That's one of the reasons why we don't take suggestions, because I used to write for a living for websites where I was told what to do, or I had to specifically research stuff. Maybe that I wasn't all that interested in, but I knew that the website wanted articles of that nature. Now I'm freelance, I work for myself, I only want to research and write about stuff that I find interesting, and similarly I want to talk about stuff I find interesting. So when we get suggestions for things, they might not necessarily be things that I give a fuck about.
Yeah, because you want to come across as passionate and enthusiastic in your writing and in the videos, so you want to talk about stuff you enjoy. Yeah,
but that's because every single video we've ever done, every article on the website is written by me, and it's a subject I am interested in. And I'd hope that enthusiasm comes across to our audience at home. And it's one reason, if you make a suggestion no matter how good you think it is, I don't give a shit. And it's just a point of pride now that the entire website, the entire channel is my ideas. Come to life, helped realised by you, of course. But
yeah.
And I think there's only one video on the entire channel that was a suggestion from someone else. It was a suggestion from my girlfriend, who obviously knows me very well in real life and knows my personality, so knew that the subject would be something I would be interested in. And I would bet my left nut nobody reading this is able to pick out specifically what that article was.
I could probably guess.
You could probably guess because you know my girlfriend. But yeah, and that's why I get asked, like, oh, how did you come up with all these random ideas? Because it's something that genuinely interests me, and I, on my time off, will just research stuff for fun to find something. And you can confirm Nisha, someone who's known me for about a decade at this point. Even before we were doing Fact Fiend, when I just wrote for a living, I would always be the guy who'd be dropping random facts at the pub. And that's one of the things, like, the whole channel is based on the idea of like two people having a conversation where it's like a drunken, nerdy friend telling you something he learned today that he's really excited about.
It's like, I have learned so much stuff working on this channel.
I hope people watching at home have as well, and they just enjoy watching the videos, because I enjoy making them. That's one of the things, that we're going to keep making these until they're either not profitable or I start having fun. And I still have fun researching, like, that's why I do it in my free time. I do it every single day, because it's something that genuinely interests me. And in that vein, like, speaking of suggestions once again, I get a lot of very common suggestions because, as mentioned, I've been doing this shit online for a long time. There are a lot of like unknown, obscure facts out there that are so well covered online elsewhere. I don't ever want to cover them on the channel because me presenting them as an obscure piece of trivia nobody knows feels insincere. And some of those ideas include Wojciech the Cavalry Bear, which, yes, I know there was a World War II platoon of Polish soldiers who like adopted a bear. Everybody who does what I do for a living knows that because we all read that cracked article. In the same vein, Jack Churchill. Yeah, we all know about Captain Mad Jack Churchill. So that's the thing, if it's appeared on the front page of Cracked or in a Today I Learned post on Reddit, I'm probably not going to cover it. Or if I do cover it, I'm going to try and find something that's like a different angle to cover it from, which is something I think a lot of people said about the channel. It feels different to other fact channels because we have a genuine enthusiasm for what we do. We're not just reading from a script, even though sometimes we are, but it's a script I wrote, so I have an attachment to it.
It's something you wrote, and then you get like the person behind the camera's reaction, and then you go on tangents, and you just start talking about other stuff.
And then moving on to the videos, like something we get asked about a lot is, are we friends in real life? Nisha, are we friends in real life?
I believe we are.
Yeah, we've known each other long before Fact Fiend started. Everyone on the channel has. All the guests we've had on the channel are all people that I know personally in real life, and just think, the energy of a friend is just, you can't replicate that.
I think you'd be able to tell as well. So I've seen comments where people say we've got good chemistry, and it's like, yeah, because we're friends.
Yeah, well, we know each other very well and have known for many years, and like, there's those in jokes, there's those just references to old stuff that we all used to do together. And I think that, again, comes across in our content. But we'd like to discuss the video making process. Like, how do we approach making a Fact Fiend video?
Especially now that we can film in person.
Yes.
We meet at the office and we'll get everything set up, all the equipment set up, lights, camera,
It's a very simple setup. A bit more complicated now, we've got a desk and stuff, but very simple. We still use basic green screen, couple of lights, camera.
You'll say, pick an article you fancy talking about.
Yeah.
So it's like my choice on the day what to talk about.
Again, because I feel the spontaneity helps us with the conversations that take place. Because if we planned out what we were going to talk about, then we'd start planning out jokes. We'd start planning out like riffs and tangents. We don't want to do that. Another thing we get asked a lot is like, are we fake laughing? We're not fake laughing.
No.
The laughter is genuine. We just we enjoy each other's company because we're all friends.
And a lot of these facts are funny. Yeah. So I'm always laughing at them.
And that's something as well I found out from like Lucas when Lucas joined the channel. It's like, oh, I never watched any of your videos. And nowadays it's like, I don't want you to, and I don't want you to read this website, because if you do, then you get spoiled on stuff we're going to talk about.
Obviously now we watch your videos because we edit them.
Yeah, you edit them.
We watch them like 10 times.
And that's the thing as well, I don't really watch my videos. When I don't watch them, I don't like watching myself film. I listen to them to see if there's any mistakes in what I say. or if there's any like awkward moments that need to be cut, or just any feedback. And generally, I have no feedback.
Don't you think there has ever been a time that I can remember where you've said, "Can you change that?"
Yeah, unless it's something that's just false, or it's like a clip that's wrong or in the wrong place. Like the video recording process, again, very simple. It's very improvisational. It's all decided on the day because we'd like that kind of energy. If you're wondering, yes, we do actually get drunk when we do drinking videos.
Although I don't know if I have.
You haven't, because you have to drive.
I have to drive. Yeah, I'm not gonna drive in one day, and I'm gonna be able to drink.
We do actually get drunk when we do drinking videos. For anyone wondering, because we've been asked this a lot as well, why don't you do drinking videos anymore? We still do, and we plan to do more in the future. It's just the process of making videos has now been so streamlined because we're all so busy in our actual lives, because of the pandemic. And then during the pandemic, I didn't want to drink because I was recording the videos on my own in my house, and we generally record them like midday. And I always had something to do after the fact, like, running the channel behind the scenes, writing the articles to try and get ahead when we were able to meet up in person. The editing process, and we'd like to speak to the editing process, because that's the one part that's a little bit more streamlined and regimented.
So what we do is we record everything, and then you upload it to the Google Drive.
Yep.
So that me, Lucas, and Brad can then download videos we want to edit.
Yeah, that's something you get to pick which ones you want to do.
Yep. And I use the Adobe software, so After Effects, Premiere Pro, Audition, that sort of thing.
Industry standard.
I'll clean up the audio, because usually there's like hum in the background. I'll try and get rid of that.
That's the air conditioning most of the time.
Yeah.
We need the air conditioning, sorry lads.
But yeah, I'll clean up the audio, and then I'll sync it to the visual, which is why at the start of every video you do 3 claps.
Anyone wondering how do you sync audio? Very simple, just clap.
And then I'll go through the raw cut out any bluffs, any mistakes, and then once I've done that, I'll go through it again and then cut it down, because we usually record to about 20 minutes, and we don't want videos to be that long, so between 10-15 minutes usually. So in the second edit, I'll cut it down further, and then once I've done that, I'll then go through it again and listen to any facts or references you make and make note of them to back up your facts, I guess, because there'll be times where we've said something wrong and I need to make sure it's not wrong, that it's correct.
So get a date wrong, something like that.
Yeah, so I'll fact check stuff you've mentioned, and then I'll make notes of all the people or films you've mentioned, so I could put pictures in the background.
Yep.
And then references to videos or clips that I could put in.
And I believe you, Lucas, and Brad, you all have a very similar process. There are differences based on your own personalities and preferences, but it's relatively the same for all of you, isn't it?
So then what we do after that, once we've gathered everything, we'll then go into After Effects and then do the green effect stuff. So we'll put the pictures in and then do the animation where they fly in, and then leave that to render out. That usually takes about an hour, depending on how many pictures are in it.
And one thing people will notice about Niche Description there is that I'm not involved at all. I'm very hands off from the moment the recording's done, save uploading it and just maintaining Google Drive and stuff like that, because it's your degree, it's what you studied to do.
Yeah.
There's no value in my input there, so it's your field of expertise.
I think one of the great things about it is it's quite simple editing as well, so it's quite quick. The longest process I find is just cutting it down and finding references to the facts you make. After Effects editing, it's quite quick.
Yeah, we can speak to that as well, because we've been asked why are your videos shorter, because we do raw cuts of videos. You can find a link to the raw cut channel below where you'll see the original cuts are sometimes 20-30 minutes long. It's just analytics, baby. We have to play that game a little bit. You've got access to analytics, and you can confirm there'll be a fact bar below with the exact number, but for almost the entire lifetime of the channel, our average watch time on every single video, on average, has been 9.5 minutes. It has never deviated from the day the channel launched. Even when we were doing 20-minute long videos, even now we're doing the ones that are about 10 minutes long, 9.5 minutes. And that's one of the reasons you'll see in some recent videos, the end conversation's not there, because our analytics show the majority of our audience is not watching it. It is actively harming the channel's ranking on Google and on YouTube, which is not something we want really, especially now fact channels are not doing very well, because that kind of content's not as popular as it once was. But you adapt or you die. Yeah. And we're adapting, in a small way. We still make it the process is exactly the same from what it once was when we were recording literally in my kitchen. It's just we have slightly more space, slightly better equipment, and a few more hands-on for the process.
Yeah. Slightly more professional, but still unprofessional.
Yeah. And is there anything particularly you've been asked about the making of the videos of the process that you just want to answer now? Just get it all out there so we can point to this video when we get asked these questions.
Not that I can think of recently, but if people comment questions in this video, I will like look at the comments and can answer some questions maybe. But like people usually ask what software I use, which is Adobe. Camera that we use,
Canon ITTY.
Lights are just like
standard, just soft light. Google the green screen again as Google green screen. And you can tell that I did because during the pandemic, when you saw other people using green screens, they all use the same one as us because they must have Googled green screen. It's the most popular one on Amazon.
The only other thing I get asked is like, what's your favourite video or what's your favourite video to edit, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and for that one for me, favourite video, this is my job. That's the thing, you choose my job, and like a lot of people, I don't like talking about my job after the fact, and I hope that, from the description I've given of how I go about my creative process, I don't see anything I create as a lasting thing that I think about after it's gone out into the world. After it's put out into the ether, I stop giving a shit because I have to move on to the next thing, because that's been my job for 10 years. I never have time to dwell on anything I've written or created because, and by necessity I have to create a new thing. Yeah. So when I get asked what my favourite video is, I don't know. I honestly don't, because I don't remember. I remember the facts from them, but I don't remember the recording process because it's just another day of work. It's a very good job that I enjoy and have a lot of fun doing, but I don't recall any particular fond memories recording specific videos. I'd recall moments from the recording sessions, and it's like, the video that moment occurred in, I don't know.
My only favourite one of recent was the Halloween stuff.
Yeah.
Because I cried laughing during the filming process, and I then started like crying laughing while editing it. So
all good fun, but hopefully this gives people a glimpse into the creative process. I do get asked about it a lot, and it's like, I don't think it's interesting. And I think my process is very, very weird and obtuse, and I'm fully expecting to get a lot of people giving me advice on how to do it better. So I'm just going to start right now. I don't want it. Fuck this. I've done this for 10 years. I know there's probably a more efficient way to do everything we've just mentioned, but it's the way I've done it for so long. Unlearning that process would be more inefficient and take more time.
It's like there's probably ways I edit which could be done better, but I'm so used to it, and it works for me.
So please don't do that. Please. I know someone is. They're going to, Karl, have you ever thought about getting? It's like, yes, I have, but I like the way I do it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.